What's up, First Thing First listeners? It's your boy Shay Sharp, co-host of FS1's Undisputed. I wanted to tell you about my new podcast, Club Shay Shay, where we always do something before two something. Each week, I sit down with a guest for a drink and conversation, and as host and proprietor of Club Shay Shay, I've welcomed in esteemed guests such as Snoop Dogg, Floyd Money Mayweather, LeVar Ball, Isaiah Thomas, just to mention a few. Whether I'm talking to an athlete, a musician, an actor, or a lifelong friend, Club Shay Shay is a place where people share inspiring and motivational stories about their journeys to prominence. The new episode drops every Monday on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Subscribe to Club Shay Shay now and make sure you never miss a new episode. Now, back to First Things First.
Good Wednesday morning, everyone. Jenna Wolfe alongside Nick Wright and Brandon Marshall. Kevin Wildes is off this morning, and we start the show with the news that left the world holding its breath yesterday. Tiger Woods involved in a single-car rollover accident just outside of LA yesterday morning. He underwent surgery for, quote, significant injuries to his right leg and ankle. The good news, Tiger was awake and he was responsive after the surgery. His career, however, that does remain to be seen. But this morning, that is obviously secondary to his health. Nick, I want to start with you. What was your reaction when you heard the news yesterday about Tiger Woods?
Well, when I first heard it, I was just really, really scared. And now this morning, I'm partially relieved and I'm partially crestfallen. Jenna knows this about me. Some of the audience does. I don't know if Brandon does. Tiger Woods is one of my two favorite athletes ever. And I have like very significant benchmark timelines in my life that I associate with Tiger. In 1996, I remember the room I was in my house. I was, I'm a sixth grader, I guess, fifth grader. My grandfather calls me from Florida. I'm in my dad's office, and he says, you have to turn on the television. There's this kid who's going to be the greatest golfer ever. And it was when Tiger was trying to win his third straight amateur. And that thing went to 2 extra holes. He won it. And from that moment, it was like a drug, and I was hooked. And from 2006 to 2008, I think the only constant in my life was Tiger Woods. My parents got divorced. I had falling out and then reunited with family members. I moved a number of times, and Tiger was it. And then in 2009, I signed up for Twitter. I looked it up this morning. My first tweet ever was about Tiger's car crash, unfortunately, in 2009. And then he was gone from my life, like he was gone from everybody's life for a number of reasons for a long time. And then amazingly, a decade later, I have a family of my own, and my youngest daughter and I bonded over watching him at the Masters. Made her want to this day, pester me about golf lessons, ask me about when we're going to be able to watch Tiger. And I'm so sad, Brandon, because I don't want to say it's a definite, but we probably never see him golf at, hopefully with his son, for fun at times. But this final chapter seems to have been cut short again. So I'm glad he's okay. But this felt, it reminded me of Kobe, and luckily it doesn't have the full tragic ending that Kobe did. But I had that same sick to my stomach feeling, Brandon, and I'm really, really sad this morning.
Yeah, Nick, Jenna, that was my first reaction, was Kobe. I was actually in the facility in the gym working out, and I walked past a television, and there was no audio, so all I saw was, red breaking news, and you saw Tiger Woods in a car crash. And then when they showed the picture and the image of Tiger's car flipped and just tangled and mangled like that, I was like, oh, no, not again. It took me back to around this time last year, right? And dealing with Kobe, I was actually in Calabasas training Gabe Davis, who the Buffalo Bills took in the draft, wide receiver from University of Central Florida. And a trainer walked in, and they said, Kobe was just in an accident, and Kobe's gone. and the whole room went silent. And I'm in this moment now where I literally flew out to LA, to Calabasas, to train this kid, and I was like, what do we do? And what is going on right now? So that was the first thing I thought about, and I'm just so happy that we're not mourning Tiger right now. And yeah, Nick, you're right. You know, we don't know if he's ever going to play again. You know, we don't know if he's going to be able to play with his son. You know, I'm glad he's here, but this is devastating. And it feels like we're mourning, you know, but I think we should be celebrating because life can be taken away just like that. We saw it with Kobe. We saw it with other greats. We saw it with people this year in the global pandemic. So I'm just thankful that Tiger's here. Tiger is great. Tiger has done some amazing things. He's one of the greatest athletes to ever grace this planet, you know, and he had an amazing career, had an amazing run. If it's over, we still can celebrate him.
Oh, well, listen, I know obviously this isn't the morning for the GOAT debate about golf, but for my eyes, for my money, he is far and away the greatest athlete to ever golf and the greatest golfer ever. And it just is, HBO came out a few months ago with a good 2-part documentary on Tiger. And I'm sure he didn't like parts of it. But the parts of it that were about not the personal life, but the golf life, it was a good, almost Cliff's Notes reminder that from the record-setting Masters to his 14th major win at the U.S. Open against Rocco Mediate when he had the broken leg and he won it anyway. That decade, we've never seen anything like it in sports. And it was, the word I would associate with him, Brandon, was invincible. And unfortunately, Jenna, nobody's invincible. And the decade since that U.S. Open victory, I want to say one other thing, and I apologize. I know I'm rambling a bit. I'm like oddly choked up about this. I know he didn't pass. I know he's going to be okay, but it feels like a sports loss. I am so glad, Jenna, he got that Masters moment. That it wasn't, he was close and he's coming back and he's going that. Because if he doesn't get to compete in another major or compete at a high level, that walk to 18, for that Masters in 2019, which was unlike anything we've ever seen in golf. I know it's not the 18th or 19th major that he wanted to catch Jack, but it's a singular moment in golf history. And if that's his last real golfing memory, it's an amazing one. But this is a tough day as a sports fan. It's a tough day.
I echo that so much. I remember how hard I rooted for him in that Masters. I think we all rooted so hard for him to win that Masters and that epic comeback performance. I mean, it wasn't just the sports world. It was the non-sports world, too. You could just feel it. You can feel it everywhere. And now I think this morning we all feel the same way in rooting for him to make a full recovery here. We are going to take a break. This is First Things First. We'll have much more right after this. Hey, First Things First listeners, I wanted to tell you about our brand new Fox Sports app and website, foxsports.com, reimagined for the modern sports fan. Go ahead, download the new app right now. You don't even have to pause this episode. Every day on the new app and website, you'll see the top stories in sports, plus a rich world of written content, videos, social media, and analytics to give you a 360-degree view of the most important stories of the day. Streaming live TV has never been so easy or elegant. Every Fox Sports game, including all pregame and postgame shows, as well as the televised version of this show, just a click away. For the extra invested fan, we also go deep with real-time wagering lines, trending prop bets, win probability, and key player projections. So download the new Fox Sports app or visit www.foxsports.com. We are back with Antoine Walker. Twan, we got to run the old fast break. All-star reserves were named last night. It sparked a lot of chatter on the old social media platforms. Let's start out west. Anthony Davis, Paul George, Rudy Gobert, Dame, Donovan Mitchell, CP3, and Zion. LeBron stood up, took some issue with one name left off that list. He said Devin Booker is the most disrespected player in our league. Simple as that. Twan, was Devin Booker snubbed?
Oh, 110% he was snubbed. He's one of the most efficient players that we got in this league, efficient scores. Everybody right now is giving Chris Paul all the credit for Phoenix's turnaround, but it's really Devin Booker becoming a better star, accepting another guy like Chris Paul and his team. He's been exceptional all year. He's the go-to guy for them. It's unfortunate that he got snubbed. I think he would end up making it with Anthony Davis not probably being able to play, but he definitely should have made it, especially with AD being hurt. But I think even if AD is still healthy, he should replace Chris Paul.
Oh, wow. 100%.
Wow.
Yeah, no, ain't no wow, Nick. Stop it, Nick. And wait your turn. Look, I'm a football guy, and I know he got snubbed. We're talking about Devin Booker and the Phoenix Suns. The Phoenix Suns who haven't made the playoffs in 10 years. You talking about how super consistent he's been down the stretch since his hamstring's been healed. 9 out of the 10 last games, and he's shooting 55% from the field, 46% from three. Please, he got snubbed. And I'm not the only one to share those sentiments in the football world. The Arizona Cardinals even know it. They're tweeting about it. You got Saquon Barkley on the East Coast, on the East Side, with the New York Giants talking about how he got snubbed. Everybody know he got snubbed, Nick.
Here's the thing. Devin Booker's awesome. In the East, Devin Booker's a no-doubter, and we'll get to the disastrous Eastern Conference team in a moment. I don't know what the coaches were thinking. In the West, who are you taking off? If he goes on, someone has to come off. Who are we taking off? Because I heard, now, Antoine said Chris Paul. That's what I said wow to. Chris Paul is the difference in the team. Devin Booker is averaging almost the exact same that he did last year, actually fewer points, 1% better from the field. So why, instead of winning 45% of their games, are they winning 60% of their games? Chris Paul, are we taking off Zion? Like Brandon, I heard you perk up there.
No. You taking
First of all, it doesn't matter about it.
Go ahead,
Walk, let's talk about this first. And correct me if I'm wrong, because you're the basketball expert. But the last I knew, it's not about wins or losses. It's about, are you an all-star? Are you one of the greatest basketball players on earth right now today? So, miss me with how many points he's averaging compared to last year. Take off AD. That's who you take off. AD is having a bad year. That's the answer.
Well, you got to put this in perspective. Anthony Davis has not been the top 24 player in the league this year. He should not be on the team. That's out of respect, and I understand that he has not been that. I don't know why people think that. Okay. And then obviously, Chris Paul has been solid. Chris Paul's been solid, but when you compare the teams last year, Chris Paul took an OKC team and really took a bunch of young guys and won some games. This core was put together and already in place with the Phoenix Suns. Chris Paul has helped them get over the hump, but Devin Booker has been the best player on that team.
And this core could never win half of their games before Chris Paul got there. As far as Anthony Davis goes, all right.
You remember the bubble,
the Anthony Davis slander. I remember the bubble. I remember the bubble. And they went undefeated. They went undefeated in the bubble.
Not on that team.
And yet, hold on. They went undefeated in the bubble and didn't even make the play-in because they had been so terrible pre-bubble. But that's not the point. The point is the following. Hold on. Because you said Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis did not take the leap we thought he would take. However, if we're just saying just raw numbers, Devin Booker is giving you 25, 4, and 4. Anthony Davis is giving you 23, 8, and 3. So the numbers are comparable, and Anthony Davis is obviously, without question, far more impactful on the end of the court. Brandon doesn't care about the defensive end. You can, by the way, despite his injury, Devin Booker's only played 3 more games than Anthony Davis. I love Booker, but I'm not taking Chris Paul off. I'm not taking Zion off. I'm not taking AD off. I think they got it right.
Okay.
I don't think he was
Can we go to the East now?
All right.
Let's go to the East.
As we agree to disagree, let's do it, Brandon. Here we go. Reserves in the East. Harden, Jaylen Brown, Julius Randle, Ben Simmons, Zach LaVine, Jason Tatum, Nikola Vucevic. Antoine, what was your biggest gripe with the East reserves?
It's got to be Ben Simmons. Ben Simmons should not be an all-star this year. I know people want to reward the Sixers because they have the best record so far in the Eastern Conference, but it should not be that. If you're going to take somebody off the Sixers, it should be Tobias Harris. Tobias Harris has been unbelievable this season, very quiet. He doesn't have the big name like a Ben Simmons, but Tobias Harris has been the second best player on the Philadelphia 76ers, so he deserves to make it over that. And then if you want to throw another guy in the mix, what about Bam Adebayo? Why is he not on the All-Star team? He should be making the second All-Star appearance on this team. There's no way that he should not be on the team. So you got to put that in perspective as well. And then you got a bunch of guys in the Eastern Conference that you can all throw in a big pool that are all guys are like 4 or 5 games under 500 that have had really good seasons. The Trae Youngs, the Jeremy Grants, Sabonis. Those guys are all in the mix. Fred VanVleet. So you got a bunch of guys in the same spot. But the true all-star should have been Tobias Harris off the Philadelphia 76ers if you want to reward a team for being the first place in the Eastern Conference.
So the guy that I'm gonna go with, you got to put more respect on his name. You just gonna say, a couple of guys, and you just start throwing out just names. Trae Young is the answer here. Come on, man. Like I'm not paying to watch or go to a game and see Vucevic. I'm not going to see Randle. Randle's having a great year. I get it. I understand the Knicks are now in the playoffs at this moment. But Trae Young, when you think about all-star, shooting from half court, sweet with the ball in his hands, can do it. Trae Young, all-star. That's the answer.
Okay, so I have a take prepared, but first I must once again. Antoine comes on and just throws these haymaker takes that I'm just not prepared for. Right now, Ben Simmons is the defensive player of the year. The defensive erasure that goes on the right side of the screen by Twan and Brandon has to stop. He is a massive part of the Sixers' success. Obviously, he's an all-star.
I agree with you there. I'll give you
Domantas Sabonis should be in over Vucevic. I think everyone knows that but the Eastern Conference coaches, but nobody cares about either of those players. So more importantly, Trae Young should be there. Who should be out? So here's the deal. Guess what, Boston Celtics? You don't get 2 all-stars. You're under 500. Do you know the last team to have multiple all-stars that's under 500? Wait, do you want to know it?
Get everyone off the all-star.
No, you don't know it because it never happens. You don't get 2 all-stars if you're sub 500. So pick, you either get Brown or Tatum. I think Brown's been a tick better than Tatum, Antoine. So Brown gets to go.
Hey.
Tatum, sorry, but you're sub 500 in the East is dreadful this year. It's got 3 teams that warrant any mention in Philly, Brooklyn, and Milwaukee. So you can't be under 500 and get 2 all-stars. Tatum's out. Trey's in. Tatum's out.
Okay.
Antoine. You know I'm right.
Rash Celtics decisions.
No, I don't mind that take, Nick, if you're going to take that approach. But stop telling me that Ben Simmons is an all-star because he can play defense. That don't make you an all-star. That means like
The
Bruce Bowen
best
should have made
defensive player in the league.
Yes.
Hey, listen, that's like saying Bruce Bowen should have made 15 all-star teams.
Right.
He can't score.
Right.
He shoots the ball 10 times a game. He shoots 16% from the 3. He has not improved that. And he shoots 68 from the free throw line. He's not an all-star in the NBA right now. It is too many Trae Youngs, Jeremy Grants, Bam Adebayo. It's too many other good young players that are putting up good numbers on subpar teams if we're going to go with
throwing Trae Young's name around like that.
Twan's
Throwing Trae Young's name around like that.
You've lost it. Jenna, Antoine's lost
let's
it.
move on.
He's lost his mind.
LeBron James, to no surprise, top vote getter for the All-Star game, so he'll have the honor of picking first in the All-Star draft. Antoine Walker, ton of star power. Who should LeBron take first overall?
I'm sure you guys all watched basketball last night, and I guess we could just bring it up now. It was a no-brainer. Luka You got to take Luka. One of the best point forwards in the league, probably second behind LeBron. When you talk about a guy who can handle and make plays for other guys, and then he's one clutch player that closes it out. LeBron, take Luka, have a lot of respect for him. He's not going to win MVP this year, but he's on a monster tear right now.
All right, so guys, don't at me. Listen to what I'm saying, okay? I said this yesterday, and everybody just blew up on me, all right? The number 2 basketball player right now, just right now, we're not talking about GOAT. We're talking about the number 2 basketball player right now. LeBron James needs to take the number 1 basketball player right now, and that's Joel Embiid.
Oh,
that's who he needs to take.
Oh, So listen. By the way, my first pick for this would have been Embiid. Not because he's the best player, but because he would be the best pick. My next pick would have been Luka. But I go last here, so I'm going to go with the guy that I think it would be the most fun to watch them play together. Jokic. The 2 best passers in the league other than Chris Paul, LeBron and Jokic, playing together in an all-star game. And by the way, sticking with a bit of a theme of the show, we all picked international guys. We once again have a massive international contingent. But LeBron and Jokic, and by the way, Jokic maybe hangs out with LeBron a little bit. LeBron can give him some cardio tips, maybe help him work on his body a bit. Luka could probably use the same thing as well, actually.
They hang out
but
together.
that would be so much fun to watch them play together. So if I can't have Luka or Embiid, I'll say Nikola Jokic because of the passing and his passing with LeBron.
All right. We got to break it there, talk some NFL now. Because Deshaun Watson could very well be moved as early as today. Where is he going? Where does he want to go? We'll discuss next. First things first.
Hey, First Things First listeners, it's Charlotte Wilder here to tell you about my new podcast with Mark Titus called the People's Sports Podcast. It comes out every Thursday, and Mark and I take one of the big stories of the week, and then we go off on tangents you never saw coming. This might mean that we start talking about the Dodgers winning the World Series and end up wondering if Knicks fans deserve happiness. Or begin with LeBron's greatness and end up drafting our ultimate beer league softball team made up of old athletes. Whatever it is, the only rule of the show is that it has to be fun and funny, because these days we could all use as many laughs as we can get. So check it out wherever you get your podcasts and come down weird sports rabbit holes with us. We can't wait to have you. Now, back to First Things First.
On Saturday, the former 2-time super middleweight world champion Anthony the Dog Durrell returns and will face off against the rising Tyrone Shut It Down Davis. Nobody loves boxing nicknames more than I do. Don't miss the action. It's Saturday on Fox and the Fox Sports app. That'll be fun. All right. Back here, we're talking Deshaun Watson. It is no secret he wants out of Houston. He's made it very clear. Yesterday, a report came out telling us just how clear. He's got ideas. Those ideas are destinations. Reportedly, Deshaun would approve trades to the Jets in New York, the Dolphins, Miami. He's got Carolina on the mind with the Panthers. So, Brandon, where would Deshaun be best set up for success next season? Jets, Dolphins, or Panthers?
Yeah, wow. Okay, so look, let's start with the Miami Dolphins. Obviously it's clear. You guys know that I love the Jets, and that's where I want them to go. And I'm happy to hear that we're back in it. But let's break down all 3 teams. Number 1, the Dolphins. So the Dolphins, this could be a win-now situation. So if Deshaun goes there, if he wants to win right now, this team is probably built where he can go in and potentially have a nice run. Why? Because you have a phenomenal coach, you have a top 5 defense, and they pretty much was number 1 all year up until like the season finale where the Buffalo Bills just ran right through them. And then offensively, you have a young offensive line that is good, that can be better, they'll grow obviously. And then all you need is another wide receiver. So Deshaun Watson can go in there right now and it could be a good situation. The Jets, right? Like, why is this attractive? Because this will be legendary. Like, this is where you can leave your mark. We haven't been back to the Super Bowl since Super Bowl III. We haven't had a quarterback since the 60s and the 70s and Joe Namath. So this is a prime situation for you to say, you know what? I am an icon. I am elite. I am one of the best that have ever done it. So it's an attractive situation because of that. You got the number 2 pick in the draft, which they probably have to give it up to get you, and then some more. You got the second most cap space in the league. So you have what you need there, and they're going to give you a seat at the table. Sorry, Texans, but we will do that. And the last team is the Panthers. Like, the only thing I got to say on the Panthers, Nick, is this. The Panthers it's a dude that have a girl already and flirting with another girl, and then they end up with none. You got Teddy Bridgewater. Now Teddy Bridgewater unfollows you. He doesn't want to date you. He doesn't want to deal with you anymore. He's probably going to end up back in New Orleans. Sean Payton going to figure out a way to get him there. So you're flirting with a guy that pretty much it's probably not going to come to you, and you're going to end up with no quarterback. You just messed it all up.
Yep. That's, many a prom story has ended that way. You had a date, you thought you could improve, you end up with no date whatsoever. I know what you're talking about. So listen, there are a number of things here that I find interesting. One is, we've got to be careful when discussing what a team would look like with Deshaun to remember the team is going to look very different because of what they have to give up for Deshaun. So don't tweet me, how great would Deshaun be with Christian McCaffrey? Because he wouldn't be with Christian McCaffrey, because McCaffrey would be going to the Texans. So, it would be Deshaun and Matt Rule, the coach, and whatever they build in Carolina. The reason I think the answer to this question is the Dolphins is because the Dolphins have enough surplus draft assets, courtesy of the Texans, and a young quarterback in Tua, that we do know mostly what the team would look like. They would be short a few draft picks, they wouldn't have Tua, and then they would have Deshaun along with that defense and the cap space they have to go get a receiver. But what I find more interesting is this, and I'm not doing this as a shot at your beloved Jets, Brandon, but if he would accept a trade to the Jets, where the hell would he say no to? What are the list of teams that Deshaun is like, nope, won't go there? Because right now it's so bad with the Texans. I think he's going to say yes to, I know he has a no trade, but I feel like he's going to say yes to any team. You might say, oh, he doesn't want to go to Detroit. Well, Detroit's not in the business for it. Detroit just traded for Goff. He doesn't want to go. Does he not want to go to Jacksonville? I don't know, and I guess maybe Jacksonville is a team that could be in it if they wanted to trade Trevor Lawrence, the number 1 pick. But I just feel like the list of teams he would accept a trade to, if the Jets are on it, has to be massive. And the list of teams he wouldn't accept a trade to has to be 1 or 2 teams. Or am I missing something here?
Well, first off, you're extremely disrespectful. So you're talking about, well, I'm not really trying to take a shot at your beloved Jets, and you take a massive shot. Yeah. No, I'll repeat exactly what I said, Nick. Deshaun, you think about Deshaun Watson. Let's put him in the NBA. He's Dame Lillard. That's who he is. This is a guy to say, you know what? I'm not going to be the guy that leave my situation, join a super team to go chase a ring. I'm going to get it done right here. We're going to build this thing this way. So I use that as an example because, if Deshaun chooses the Jets, all right, and this happens, that's his mentality. I'm in the biggest media market in the world. We haven't been to the Super Bowl since Super Bowl III. And we haven't had a quarterback since the 60s and 70s. I just said that. So I think that's a big thing. There's some guys that have that little thing in their head that thought of, man, I can be the person that turned this thing around. And I truly believe Deshaun Watson is one of those guys. And that's why you're seeing the Jets on this list as a potential landing spot for him.
Well, 2 points. One is to continue the analogy. If Deshaun Watson is Damian Lillard, the Jets are the Sacramento Kings. It's if you'll accept a trade there, you'll accept a trade anywhere. Then there's no team you're going to say no to. That's first of all. Second of all, the one thing for the Panthers that I will say is this. Unlike the Panthers are in this unique position, and this isn't me taking a shot at Brady, I promise. Because of their division, if he were to go there, he's the only established quarterback under the age of 35 in that division. So Matt Ryan's there, obviously, but he is on the wrong side of his career. Drew Brees is not long for New Orleans, might retire this offseason, certainly with the following offseason. And Brady's going to be 44. So if it's I don't think the Panthers would immediately become contenders next year if they were to get Deshaun, but he could be surveying it and saying, well, like, yeah, could I force my way to the Raiders? Then I have to deal with Herbert and Mahomes, of course. I force my way to the Jets or Dolphins. Josh Allen is sitting there, and a lot of people really love him as a player. Either Tua or
now
Justin
you want
Fields.
To show love to Josh Allen?
No, I don't. I actually don't. But I understand
Bills Mafia,
others
you
might.
heard it.
And so,
Wait,
there you go.
Brandon,
and so the Panthers don't have that, Jenna.
But when you're making a decision like this, pull back the curtain. How much of it is like the team and the structure of the team and where you fit into the team, and how much is it a way of life? Like maybe he wants to go and play somewhere out the rest of his career then, and it's New York, Miami, Carolina. I mean, how much do you factor the city and like everything that surrounds what your life will be like when you make a big decision like this?
That's a great question, and I go back to LeBron James. I think LeBron James was one of the first guys, first athletes that said, I want it all. I want to live in a nice city. I want to be comfortable. My kids, I want them in a good school system. My wife, I want her to be in a good place where she can thrive, and I want an opportunity to win, and I want the bag. So I think LeBron James was the first guy that stood up and said, where can I get it all? And so I think it's a big part of decision making now with guys. Is Matthew Stafford has a house in Newport Beach. He didn't want to go to New England. He didn't want to play in the cold anymore. He wanted to get out of Detroit.
Right.
He said, I'm going back to Cali. This is where I got a house, and I want to be comfortable, and I can win. So I think that's a big part of the process.
Could be why we're saying New York, Nick. Right, Brandon? Is a big possibility. Speaking of LeBron, let's talk some MVP. It's Wednesday. What does that mean? A number of things, one of which is Nick's got a very special MVP list cooked up for us. We're going to let him do his thing next. First things first. Another list. Back here with Antoine Walker. All right, Antoine, we are approaching the halfway mark of the season. So we want to invite you into a conversation that we have every so often on the show. A conversation that's always fun, but it's generally always heated as well. We like to call it Nick's updated NBA MVP ladder. So, Nick, go ahead, lay it all out for us, and then, Antoine, we're going to have you react.
Oh, Jenna, I do not think this is going to be heated. I think this is going to be incredibly gracious, well received. I think there's going to be a lot of compliments flowing, because what I'm about to debut is a flawless MVP ladder. Give me the bottom tier of the ladder. Number 8. Hey, let's show some respect to the Brooklyn Nets. James Harden. Did he come into camp 20 pounds overweight and quit on the Rockets? Sure. But as a Net, he's been spectacular. He has been distributing the ball. He has been stepping up when KD's out. James Harden's on the list. Damian Lillard, nearly 30 points per game, carrying the momentum from the bubble. Got the Blazers not having to play in a play-in game this season, it would look like. So the Dame, he's number 7. Nikola Jokic leads the league in PER. A monster stat line. What's he averaging? 27, 11, and 8. The best passing big man since Bill Walton. By the way, stop calling him the best passing center ever, like Bill Walton didn't exist. He did, but Jokic is the best since then. So that is your first grouping. Now there's a gap between them and the next group. Show me the next group. Coming in at number 5, Kawhi Leonard. The only reason Kawhi Leonard is not number 3 is the games missed. He's already missed 7 games, but he has been spectacular. I would argue it's the best season of his professional career. Number 4, Giannis. I know nobody cares about Giannis anymore. 1-2 MVPs, had 2 postseason flameouts. He's not going to win the MVP this year, but all he's doing is 29, 12, and 6. He's playing more minutes than last year, which I think is important. Giannis, number 4. And then the controversy. Chris Paul, my guy Antoine, doesn't even have him as an all-star. The Suns last year pre-bubble were 29 and 30. I'm sorry, they were worse than that. Pre-bubble, they were winning 40% of their basketball games. 40%. What's the difference? Chris Paul. So I don't care that his counting stats aren't great. He is as good of a closer as anyone in basketball. He's the second best leader in basketball. He is the difference and the reason why the Suns are 2 games out of the 2 seed in the West. Now there's a big gap. And this, by the way, as of 18 hours ago, 1 and 2 were flipped. But then Joel Embiid had a 3 for 13, following up a game where he was 6 for 20. Last night he had 6 turnovers. We don't talk about it because we only talk about the guy at the top of the ladder like this. Show me the top 2. It's Embiid and LeBron. They are neck and neck. Embiid was number 1 literally 14 hours ago. I don't have a watch on, but that's what it would say. But he had a bad game last night. LeBron, I understand he had lost his previous game, but he did have, 31, 9, and 11. So LeBron retakes the slightest of leads. It is this close between the two. Antoine Walker, admit it, that's a flawless MVP ladder.
Nick, man, you know I love you. You know you my guy. You're usually like 85%. I can usually go to bed. When I'm at the barbershop and my guys are talking about you and do I like Nick Wright, I usually like you 85%. I'm like, Nick is usually right. You got this totally wrong. I was shocked when I saw this list. First of all, let's stop with it. Should never be 8 people up for MVP right now. So let's stop with the 8 people. Let's start right there. Jokic obviously should never be number 6. He should be 3. So 6 is way too far for a guy who's almost averaging a triple-double. So he should be 3. Dame should not be on the list, and I love Dame. We all know that. James Harden definitely not on the list. And stop giving Chris Paul all this love. He's not in the MVP race. He is a great leader. He has helped the Phoenix Suns improve, but he's not in that type of conversation. Now, you want to get a correct top 4 list, we got it real easy. Embiid is 1, LeBron's 2, Jokic is 3,
very close.
And then Kawhi Leonard is 4. And he's moving up the ladder game by game. Because if we're going to put Embiid 1, Embiid has a chance to not play in a lot of games. He's already missed 5 games. You talk about the 7 Kawhi's missed. We're not going to talk about games played right now. Kawhi is up there and quietly sneaking up that ladder because they are second in the West and they're starting to put together a really good record. But Nick, I'm disappointed in you that you got 8 people on here. No. You're supposed to stop every producer, everybody. Look, we're gonna stop at 5 at least. This is embarrassing. You got 8 guys on here.
Here's just to be fair, just quickly to be fair, there's 2 reasons I had 8 guys on the list, and then I'll go to you, Brandon. One is the MVP ballot. You submit 5 names, so I wanted to show you the 5 I would submit, and then the 3 that just missed. And last week or 2 weeks ago, I said if you listed 8 MVPs, Steph Curry wouldn't be on there, and I had to prove it to America because there was this Steph Curry MVP momentum that was building, and so Steph, by the way, would be 9th or 10th. Brandon, all right, you're going to be more honest than Antoine. You thought about this LeBron Embiid thing. You watched the 3 for 13 last night. You're with me on this, correct?
Well, first, before I get to you, let me address you, Walk. You actually entertain Nick's propaganda. Bro, he's with Clutch Sports Management. Come on, you know he's in LeBron James camp. So this is all propaganda, bro. He's trying to control the narrative. Look, there's Rich Paul, there's Maverick Carter, there's the others, and then you're going to see, no disrespect to the others, in LeBron James camp and how they all grew up together. And then you're going to see Nick Wright in the next documentary like, hey, guys, this is the LeBron James camp. So stop buying into this propaganda. That's first and foremost. Really quick, and I'm going to throw it right back at you, Nick, because I want to get your thoughts on my ladder. It is Joel Embiid, Okay, and I'm going to start on the opposite end of the spectrum. I'm not going to start from the bottom up. That is what it is. Joel Embiid, and everybody's crushing me right now for what I said yesterday. Maybe I didn't articulate myself well, but what I said was, Joel Embiid, when you look at what he's doing and how he's doing it as at a big man, this is Olajuwon in the paint, sweet with the hook shots, mid-range game, 40% from three, 53% from the field. He is showing you that he is the best player on the planet right now. That's hands down, that is facts, that is not Nick Wright propaganda. And then you have a little bit of space, maybe a lot of space, and then you have three guys, okay? And it's the triplets. That's what it is.
Oh my
this
God.
is the MVP race. It's KD, it's Kyrie, and James Harden. Pick one. Pick one. Think about it. Pick one. They're having amazing years.
Okay.
That is it, Nick. What do you think?
Okay.
They're so little.
Okay. I think that Embiid's percentages, we're going to have to triple check them because after going 9 for 33 in his last 2 games, I think they've all probably dropped a bit. But we can double it. He was really, really efficient before these last 2 games against Toronto. Toronto maybe has a little answer for him. And I think LeBron James had 31, 9, and 11 in his previous game, but I could be wrong. But as far as the MVP triplets, the thing is this. I'd love to see them all together. I also, if you've got 3 MVP candidates, I'd love to see you not third in the Eastern Conference. Like, these are things I, pardon me, personally would like to see. And to their credit, there is Kevin Durant and Joel Embiid have something in common of the 4 people on the screen, Antoine. They're the only 2 guys on the screen who haven't either literally or euphemistically left a team without explaining it so far this season. Kyrie actually left. Harden's soul left Houston on his way out. So I don't know if he can be an MVP in those circumstances. But other than that, that's a good ladder. Embiid's close. He's really close. Just tough game last night. Knocked him down, Antoine. Yeah, go ahead, Brandon.
Well, Brandon, let me just say
real quick. No, I'm not. You got KD, 29 points, right? Averaging 29 points. I know he's hurt right now, but please, we're talking about LeBron James or KD, who's the best in the business right now. And then you got Kyrie Irving. I know he went on a sabbatical. We know he was maybe contemplating retirement, but he's back now, and he's been sensational. He's been probably the best skillful player in the NBA, averaging 27 points. And then you got James Harden, who I don't think we talk enough about. Will he sacrifice? What can he do without dominating the basketball? He's averaging 25, but he's damn near averaging 12 assists, and he's making the ultimate sacrifice. So I think this is a valid triplet MVP race right here.
Brandon, look,
Go ahead, Wenzel.
I don't know what this Brooklyn thing you really love about Brooklyn, but you got to get off of it. Let's embrace this. The centers are not a part of the game right now. But now you have 2 centers that are really up for MVP race. Let's appreciate this. We're bringing the big men back to the game. Right. They're playing exceptional. That's what it is this year. You got LeBron James, 18 years in, playing exceptional basketball. I know we would love to put these other guys in this race, but it's a 3-man race. Let's embrace it.
Oh, that's what we're doing now?
It's not sometimes
sentimental.
It's not
awards?
that pretty because it's
Is that what we're doing now?
Well, it's a
LeBron
3-man
James,
race.
18 years, 36 years old, playing good basketball, so we're going to give him the MVP?
No.
He's playing
it's not
league.
sentimental awards. It's that, you know what the most important words Brandon said there when he was talking about LeBron? It wasn't 18 years, it wasn't sentimental. It was these 2 words, playing basketball. Because unlike your triplets, he actually plays. KD's been out. Kyrie went on sabbatical. Harden left the team. You get LeBron to win the MVP award. Playing basketball is the first step. There's a lot of steps after, but playing is the first step. LeBron's got all your triplets beat on that, Jenna.
Right.
I said it would be heated. I delivered. Twan, thank you so much. Glad you were a part of that. We got to go back to Pittsburgh, where the question is, are the Steelers making a big mistake by bringing Big Ben back?
Ooh.
What's next for them? That's next. First things first.
Antoine forgot about the clutch.
The NASCAR Cup Series heads to Miami. It's the Dixie Vodka 400. See who's going to take the crown at the season's first mile-and-a-half track. All that action starts Sunday, 3:30 Eastern on Fox and the Fox Sports app. Talk some football now. How about the Steelers? And what do you do with Big Ben Roethlisberger? He started strong last year. They went undefeated 3/4 of the way through the season, and then he struggled down the stretch. The guy's 38. He'll be 39 next month. He's owed a ton of money. Yesterday, he sat down with the Steelers president, Art Rooney, who reportedly told him he does want him back, to which Ben's agent said, hey, we're open to reworking Ben's contract. Well, you see how that works. That was convenient. Former Pro Bowl corner Brandon Flowers with us. So, Brandon, I will start with you. You like the Steelers bringing back Big Ben next season?
I like the Steelers bringing back Big Season, but this is why. It's just because they have nobody in the wings to replace Big Ben. You know, he's definitely on the latter part of his career, and he could have definitely sailed off into this offseason just like Phillip Rivers did, who just had a good season, and go ahead and retire. And I think it is time for the Steelers to move on. But like the Colts, management had someone in the wings, like a Carson Wentz, that was along with their head coach that they knew was going to replace Phillip Rivers. Pittsburgh doesn't have anybody to replace Big Ben right now. And this isn't a franchise that just rolls through quarterbacks left and right. If you're the Steelers quarterback, you're probably going to be their quarterback for the next decade. So being for the fact that they don't have anybody to replace him right now, why would you replace him? This is a quarterback that won the division last year. He went 12-4. And I know it left a sour taste in everybody's mouth because of the way the season ended and the playoffs ended, but he didn't play that terrible in the playoffs. Cleveland was just a hot team. And we all know whoever the hot team is coming into the playoffs usually do some damage. So I don't think Big Ben had a terrible year last year. And I think this is the right move to bring him back until you bring somebody to replace him.
Well, first off, B, I'm disappointed in you because I watched you all year sit there with Shannon Sharp and Skip Bayless and talk about ball, and I'm sitting here on the 7:30 to 9:30 a.m. Show, and it's the first time that I get to grace the screen with you, so I'm disappointed that we can talk ball finally. So I wanted to get that off my chest. Second, me and Nick, right, why we got you here? You know, because I consider you, when I think about your career, we battled. We went against each other. Denver Broncos, Kansas City Chiefs. And every time I look at the scouting report, every time I battled against you for years, that there's a couple things that stood out. High football IQ, super savvy, and underappreciated ball skills, right? So you when you talk about the defensive back and that matchup, you guys going against quarterbacks is special. Nick Wright and I battle all the time about Tom Brady and a veteran quarterback, even Phillip Rivers. In my mind, like, I'd rather go into a season with a seasoned vet because of the other things they give you, leadership and how they make everybody better, and then situational football. So my question to you, and maybe you can help me and Nick kind of get over the hump, is who would you rather face? Okay, you're on the other side, game on the line, situational moment, whether it's 2 minutes before the half or the end of the game, or do you rather go against maybe a guy who may be over the hill and have a couple games left, like a Big Ben, a seasoned vet, or a young gun that has all the potential?
I would rather go against the young guy, me being a defensive guy, because sometimes young quarterbacks don't understand the moment. They don't understand sometimes you have to just take a sack, or you just have to throw the ball away, or you cannot turn the ball over right here. So going against those vets, they understand, like you mentioned, leadership. You know, what you can and can't do, when you got to make these certain throws. So these young quarterbacks feel like they can make every play on the film. The adrenaline be going, and they just be feeling their stuff at times. But guys like Tom Brady, Big Ben, they know exactly when they need field goals, when they need touchdowns. So I would love on the defensive side of the ball just to go against a young guy who just thinks he can make all the throws.
So here's the problem, though, because Big Ben is an old guy with all the bad young guy tendencies. As you get older, you're supposed to learn how to take care of your body more. Ben didn't. As you get older, you're supposed to study more film. Ben doesn't. As you get older, you're supposed to throw fewer interceptions. Ben throws more. So, like, you get the bad of the young quarterback without the good of the potential. Like, that's the, come on. He's not Tom Brady. There ain't no TB12 method. There might be some Mick Ultra 97 method, but no TB12. And Mick Ultra's probably a little too light. It strikes me more of a butt-heavy guy. Like, let's be honest here. And the problem for the Steelers is twofold. One is they are either way, whether they stuck with Ben or not, they were going to go into this season, Brandon Marshall, with, I believe, the worst quarterback in their division. Lamar's better. Baker's better. If Joe Burrow's knee is healthy, I think he'll be better. That's with Ben or without Ben. The reason that's a problem is if you run Ben back another year, pardon me, in 2021, then you're putting yourself in the position to be in the exact same position in 2022, right, where you don't know what the answer is and you're in another year of transition. So I understand the Steelers franchise. They never change coaches. They never change quarterbacks. They want to do it the classy way. But, and maybe for the reputation of their franchise, this is the right move. But Brandon, for this upcoming year and for the Steelers over the next few years, this isn't the right move.
Well, first of all, sometimes your trump card get trumped. Let's go back. What did you say? Big Ben is a veteran quarterback with the rookie tendencies. He's getting worse.
Yeah, he's got young guy tendencies.
Okay, yeah. That was brilliant. I loved it. And look, you're absolutely right. But I definitely wanted to get B. Flowers' perspective on that because we have these discussions all the time. But I do agree with you, Nick, and I do agree with you a little bit, B, to a certain extent when it comes to what they should do. I truly believe that the strength of this team is that defense. So right now you should be thinking about how do I double down on the defense? How do I invest more in the defense and start this transition period to where maybe we can go get a quarterback that can stand in the gap while we develop a young guy for a year or two and get back to where we're supposed to be in NFL royalty, because there's only a few teams that compete year in and year out, and the Pittsburgh Steelers are one of them. So, Big Ben, I do think there's concern there. It's like, dude, you're not going to be that quarterback where you're going to throw for 400 yards every game. And that's what he's trying to do. There was obviously reports last year, like Big Ben changing plays at the line of scrimmage. Here, I call a run play, and then Big Ben is throwing the ball. Mike Tomlin looking down the field at the offensive court like, bro, what's going on? And then what happens? At the end of the year, he fired. So, does Big Ben have that in him to where he can look himself in the mirror and say, you know what? Let them do their thing on defense. I'll hand the ball down on first, hand the ball off on second, and then it's third and manageable, and then I dink and dunk. I don't know if he's capable of doing that, so that's why I believe it's time for them to really consider moving on from Big Ben, B.
I don't think he's going to do that because that's not in his arsenal. A guy's not going to change in the latter part of his career and say, hey, I'm going to all of a sudden conform to this way of playing quarterback. I just think Mike Tomlin and the Steelers franchise are just going with history, going with percentages. Mike Tomlin never had a losing season with Big Ben. They had their ups and downs, changing coordinators who fit Big Ben and his offense the best, but they're definitely saying they're not going into the season and trying to develop Mason Rudolph. And Dwayne Haskins haven't been there, so they don't know what kind of caliber player that they're getting in Haskins. So it's just they're in between a rock and a hard place right now, and Big Ben is just the guy that makes sense. He's a guy that hasn't had a losing season, and it's almost like literally who else would I put in there? So that's the only reason I can see the Pittsburgh Steelers making this move.
And that's fine, and I think you're right. But I think the Steelers do need to strongly consider taking a page out of the Chiefs' playbook in this regard. The Chiefs were coming off a playoff season. They had a veteran quarterback they knew wasn't going to be there long term. He didn't have the history of Big Ben, obviously. And they were drafting in the 20s. And they traded a future first-round pick to trade up to target their guy. Now, that doesn't always end up with Mahomes, but Jenna, and rarely ends up with Mahomes. But Jenna, they need to come out of this draft somehow with their quarterback of the future.
Hang on, Nick, because you mentioned the Chiefs. Could J.J. Watt be on his way to Kansas City to join your guy, Patrick Mahomes, and said Chiefs? Oh. We'll have that story next. First things first. I wonder if that would make you happy.
It's over. No, Nick is right. Nick is right.
They got to move on, Jenna.
We'll wait and see this turnaround from 500. All right, let's play a little drawing a blank. That was awful, by the way, Nick, and wrong. It was just wrong. Talk some J.J. Watt. Hey, would Kansas City be a good destination for a J.J.? Chiefs D lineman Chris Jones seems to think so. Said Watt is his favorite player and that he'd love to play with him. Brandon, J.J. Watt on the Chiefs would be blank.
I mean, can I use like hand signals and stuff? Like, it's like shoulder shrug, like, what, does it matter? 2018, 16 sacks. 2019, 4 sacks. 2020, you had 5 sacks. So, Nick, what J.J. Watt are we getting? I know we have the big name, and I know he's phenomenal, 2-3-time, maybe 4-time Defensive Player of the Year. A guy that I once said could potentially go down as the greatest defensive lineman ever. This was a dude who would wreck an entire game. This is a dude that would take away the whole side of a field. So if you're thinking about that J.J. Watt, then you're like, oh, my goodness, the Kansas City Chiefs are going to be right back in the Super Bowl. But I don't know what J.J. Watt we're getting when you look at the statistics and you look at what he's been doing from 2018 to today. So, Nick, I don't know, man.
That's right.
Shrug.
So listen, the Chiefs will obviously be right back in the Super Bowl with or without him. And you don't know which version you're going to get. But I would say it would be good for JJ to go from the dysfunction of the Texans organization to the Super Bowl favorites in the AFC, the Super Bowl favorites according to Vegas overall in the whole league, and to have, I would argue, as far as leadership, Tyrann Mathieu on the back end, who played with JJ, and JJ on the D-line alongside Chris Jones and Frank Clark. I think even if he's not even close to a double-digit sack guy would help the team. But more importantly, going from Bill O'Brien and the coaches he's had down in Houston to Andy Reid and the organization of the Chiefs would be great for JJ. And he would, bonus take Brandon Marshall or Brandon Flowers that you're going to like, he would go from a wildly, historically overrated barbecue city, Houston, to the greatest barbecue city in America, Kansas City, Missouri. So how about that? Brandon Flowers, I know you agree with me.
Oh, my goodness.
I agree. And I agree with a lot of things you said right there, Nick. And for me, J.J. Watt coming to the Kansas City Chiefs, if they can make that happen, it's a championship move. Like you mentioned, Nick, the leadership that he will bring to this defense will be valuable for this defense. And B. Marshall, I'm not worried about him getting too many sacks, but he can be a run stuffer. Kansas City struggles stopping the run this year, but teams just don't continue to run the ball the whole game. So I look for him to come in and be a run stopper. And we know Brandon Marshall is players. Coaches don't get the best out of us. Other players get the best out of us. So him going with Chris Jones on that interior defensive line, they'll be able to push each other. Chris Jones will be learning how to be even more of a pro, and they will push the pocket so Frank Clark can get more pressure on the edge. So I think this will be a championship move for the team if they can make this happen.
And you keep going on undisputed. Boy, you better spend more time with us.
Talking Drew Brees. How about Drew Brees' future somehow, someway, still undecided? Saints running back Alvin Kamara said Drew's going to take his time and make the best decision for him. Brandon, the best option for Drew Brees next season is blank.
Look, organic, natural joke is never good a second time around, so I'm not even going to try to do it. I mean, it wasn't even a joke. It was just a classical moment. Every morning, we get up at 4:30 to prepare for this show. We have a 5 a.m. production meeting. The whole team, so me, Jenna, Nick, we got our producer, Ketta, Sam. We got so many other people out there that's helping us prepare for this show, and we go over, okay, here's the topics. And so I'm on the Zoom call. I don't have my screen on. I have mute on. I turned my phone on mute. And then all of a sudden, Ketta says, okay, so we're going to do fill it, draw in the blank. And then he said, Drew Brees retiring. And I said, hold up, what? What are we talking about here? Is this even a question? Like, I'm speechless because I thought he already retired. I literally thought that this dude already retired. He spent an hour on the field after the game, forehead with his wife, like, baby, thank you. And he takes a pay cut. He makes $1 million. What is going on here? Drew Brees, what is going on? I'm speechless.
Yeah, speaking of speeches, the best option for him is the speech circuit. I think Drew Brees probably get 50 to 60 grand per speech going talking to businesses, can give a speech on leadership, and then end it with the way he famously would do the hoorah speech with the Saints right before games. It would be wildly popular, make a bunch of money, not get hit, spend more time with his wife. So I don't think a TV booth. I think a speech circuit, probably peel about $500,000 a year if he were $5 million a year, pardon me, if he wanted to doing it. Do that, because I don't think he's playing quarterback anymore, Brandon.
I agree. My best option for Drew Brees is San Diego. And I understand the Chargers not there anymore, but that's where his home is. So I agree with you guys when you said he needs to retire. And he got quarterback money. Go ahead, if you're having some little midlife crisis where you want to play, just buy you another mansion. You can afford it. And just enjoy the fruits of your labor that you have been able to accumulate throughout the NFL. You know, his career hasn't been like Brady's, you know, not even going into awards, Super Bowls, and championships. It's just that Breeze is getting hit right now. So he's breaking ribs, playing through pain. That's not what Brady is doing right now. Brady is not getting hit. He's feeling comfortable in a pocket. Right. So that's why I think he needs to lean towards retirement and don't even think about playing 2 or maybe 3 more years like Tom Brady is doing right now. Just enjoy your fruits of your labor, Drew.
Speaking of Brady, let's talk some Tampa Bay. Super Bowl champ Chris Godwin had this to say on his pending free agency. The goal is obviously to get paid, right? So, Brandon, the team you want to see Chris Godwin on next season is blank.
Yeah, so preparing for this, I just start thinking about the scenarios, and I try to put on my Nick Wright resident GM hat, and I'm like, the Bucs makes the most sense. But I knew that Nick was probably going to combat me and say, well, Brandon, doesn't make sense because you got guys on the other side of the ball that, contribute to this Super Bowl that you have to sign back. So how do you put so much money into that? And then all of a sudden, this morning, I see a report that the Bucs are trying to restructure and extend Tom Brady. Because what I was thinking before I saw that report was, Tom Brady, do you really need all that money? Why don't you take less and give him more, right? So you can keep this going. Like, it's a game at this point. You know, you're winning Super Bowl after Super Bowl after Super Bowl. So, Nick, the resident GM hat in me says that, maybe they're restructuring so he can give more money to Chris Godwin and keep his guys around. So I'm going with the Bucs.
Well, the resident GM in me says some actual GM is going to overpay for Chris Godwin to make him their number one receiver when the number one receiver in Tampa is clearly Mike Evans. So I say the Colts. The Colts just invested in Carson Wentz. T.Y. Hilton got banged up again this past year, wasn't super productive. They haven't had a true number one in Indy, I would argue, since Reggie Wayne. So I think the Colts, who should be the favorites in their division next year, if Wentz can be anything close to, forget 2017, his 2018 or 19 self, they need a legitimate number one receiver. They have the money. I say the Colts, Brandon.
I'm going with the Eagles here. The Eagles have been a team who have been just killed by their wide receivers with injury. They've been bringing guys off the street, that play quarterback, that play them at receivers, guys that worked at Pompey Park is playing receiver for them throughout the year. And Nick Sirianni comes in as the head coach, knows my guy needs weapons. Whether it's going to be Jalen Hurts, and I maybe don't have to draft a receiver top 10 my pick, I might can go quarterback because everyone knows if you're a head coach in Philly, you're on a short leash, whether you win the Super Bowl or not. So bringing a guy that can get the job done at receiver, don't have the pressure of bringing in the receiver with your top 10 pick, and that would just be the perfect fit for what you're trying to do going forward.
All right, let's move on to Antoine Winfield, the Super Bowl champ, the peace sign revenge artist. Look what the Bucs safety did. And I mean, look what they did. This is a forever, forever remember winning Super Bowl 55 moment. That is a forever tattoo. Tom Brady responded on Instagram seeing this with, make sure you save room. So Brandon, Antoine Winfield Jr.'s Super Bowl tattoo is blank. It's intense.
Bruh, that's what it is, Jenna. Straight Ebonics. Bruh, what's going on right now? Like, Brandon, you know this, man. Like, it's all of our dream to hoist that Lombardi trophy and win the Super Bowl. And I got tattoos all over my body. And I probably, if I make the Super Bowl, I'll probably get a tattoo. But it's not going to be this big because what I envision, let's think about one of the vets on Fox and our Sunday show. Let's think about Terry Bradshaw. He won a Super Bowl almost 40 years ago. If he puts 4 Lombardi trophies on his chest, can you picture that? What does that look like? So the answer right here is, bruh, what are we doing?
Yeah, that's right. It's too much. And this isn't bitter Chiefs fan in me. It's just pragmatic adult. You know who wouldn't do this? Antoine Winfield Sr. Antoine Winfield Sr. would say, son, you got a lot more years in this league. Yeah, you, as Brady said, leave room. You hope to win another one. And I would argue the skull in the Bucs logo, not a great skull. I mean, that he could have been a little bit better. Should have been a little bit smaller. I got to critique it a bit. Jenna's the only. Well, Jenna. I'm going to be honest. Jenna's the only one on the set without any tattoos, so I know she doesn't like
there
it.
You go.
We all have them, but you got to be a little more judicious with your tattoo choosing.
Right.
I feel like it's a little big, B-Flow.
I love how well you know me, Nick. It's lovely. It's lovely.
I'm going to go with
ahead,
predictable here. And I'm not saying predictable because he's a rookie that won the Super Bowl, so he wants the Lombardi trophy on him. I'm going predictable because he got prayer hands. You know, he's not a guy that's covered in tattoo like myself and B. Marshall. And guys that's not covered in tattoo, when they get their first couple collections, the first thing athletes do is go to the prayer hand. I guarantee you 99% of the athletes in the NFL have prayer hands on. So you got to go away from the prayer hands. He should have got the peace sign. That would have made it iconic to go with that iconic big picture he could put in his mansion we go buy one day.
That would have been clever.
That would have been cool. Put the peace sign right up under, but the prayer hands for me is just predictable, man. Everybody got
maybe it's a second tattoo. Yeah.
All right.
That's right. You're right.
Let us take a turn. We got to talk some basketball. Time for Knicks NBA medal James Harden with a triple-double in a win over the Kings last night. But the Beer just missing out on a medal. Nick, who did make your podium today?
We have a first-time podium. You'll see why in a moment because all of these guys are return medalists. Giannis, 37, 8, and 8 in 29 minutes. 37 points, 29 minutes as they annihilate the really bad Minnesota Timberwolves. Silver medalist, Nikola Jokic, 41, 5, and 5 in a great win for the Nuggets as they battle with the Blazers for playoff positioning. Nikola was excellent once again. The best passing center since Bill Walton. Not a lot of assists, but a bunch of points last night. He's silver medalist. And the gold medalist, my large adult Slovenian son. He thought the season was going to start around Valentine's Day. He comes into the season out of shape. Can't hit threes. Everyone's hating on him. He says, oh, just give me some time. Now he's dotting I's, hitting game winners. 31, 10, and 8 as Luka tries to get himself in the MVP conversation, get his team in the playoff contention, I should say. Brandon, the reason this is an unprecedented podium, all international podium, shows the global reach of the game. We have Nigeria via Greece, we have Serbia, we have Slovenia, all represented on this podium. I don't know why you're shaking your head, Brandon Marshall.
Bruh, come on, man. The disrespect around James Harden. 29 points, 14 assists, 11 rebounds, a triple-double. The out-of-shape James Harden. Bro, take Giannis off. They've been on a losing streak. They finally beat what you just said, a terrible T-Wolves team. So take him off and put James Harden up there.
Because the Nets beat the wonderful Sacramento Kings. The Kings, we're going to penalize Giannis for who they beat, and you guys beat the Kings, Jenna. He sounds crazy. Brandon sounds crazy. We got to move on. He sounds
Brandon Flowers, thank you so much. We enjoyed having you. I know Brandon Marshall enjoyed having you. Come back again. We appreciate it. Take a break.
Go undershoot it, Shannon and Skip.
Always a pleasure.
Bye.
On Saturday, the former two-time super middleweight world champion Anthony the Dog Durrell returns and faces off against the rising Tyrone Shut-It-Down Davis. Do not miss any of the action. It's Saturday on Fox and the Fox Sports app. All right, back here, we're talking Tom Brady. So The GOAT reached the pinnacle in year 1 in Tampa. Tweeted the other day he wasn't sure how to spend his offseason. How about spending it working out a contract extension? The Bucs general manager saying it is definitely a possibility to sign Brady on for even longer, saying it doesn't look like Tom slowed down at all this year. So, Nick, should the Bucs give Tom Brady an extension this offseason?
Wow.
Well, I think the news here is the difference in the way Jason Light is discussing Tom Brady's future and the way Tom Brady's previous GM would discuss his future, which is not really discuss it at all, and then behind the scenes clearly not show a lot of faith that it was going to be a bright future. Brandon always pokes fun at me for wanting to be a GM, but he's right. And on the GM side of things, the reason pragmatically you would give Brady an extension is his cap hit this upcoming season is a shade over $28 million. There's a bunch of guys, as Brandon has laid out, Shaq Barrett, Levante David, Godwin, guys you want to bring back. You could cut that cap figure down, and by extending Brady and spreading some of the money out, and maybe Brady takes a bit of a discount because he's made so much money already. I don't know what he would want to do salary-wise. But, Brandon, to me, it's more than just the pragmatic, does this allow us to bring back another player? It's also the messaging to Tom, we're all in with you. We showed you we were all in this offseason. You rewarded us. We're going to keep that going. You've said your goal is to play till you're 45. We're saying, why not 46? As opposed to it's like when your ex is one way and your new fling is like, well, I'm going to be totally different. I'm going to, she always doubted you. I'm going to show you all the faith in the world. And so when Bill Belichick didn't want to entrust Brady for age 43, you now have the Bucs saying, we want to entrust you past age 45, which I think shows how well, obviously, as the defending champions, this relationship is going.
Well, okay, so my initial thoughts, Nick, kind of goes against my takes all year on Tom Brady. It's, you let Tom Brady will himself out of Foxborough. Tom Brady, a veteran quarterback, you don't pay him to come in and throw for 300 yards. Is that what he does Monday through Friday. So what I'm about to say kind of goes against it because, when I saw this, I'm like, what are we talking about? He's 43. We're talking about extending him. He already has 1 year. Like, what's the rush? And why is this such a priority when you have so many other things? And then, in between blocks, you're like, oh, well, Brandon, it makes sense because it frees up cap space. And one of the things that I've been thinking about for the last couple weeks is this is like, bruh, you've made over $260 million, and it's tough. And the reason why I haven't really talked about it a lot, because it's uncomfortable. We should feel uncomfortable as players, former players, counting another man's money, being in another man's pocket, okay? So in my mind, it's like, I know you're crushing it off the field. You made a lot of money on the field. Your wife is crushing it. How much more money do you need? It's a game at this point. If I'm Tom Brady, when I'm doing this, I'm probably taking a couple million, and I'm like, yo, keep Chris Godwin, keep Gronkowski, keep AB, because I'm probably going to make more money throughout the next 20, 40 years if I can continue to stack these wins, these Super Bowls. Now, anybody ever catch him 7 rings? Probably not. Nick, you're going to find a way to talk about Patrick Mahomes, and he can still catch him, and this whole GOAT debate. That's over. That's closed. But that's the thing that I think about is, Tom Brady giving this team an opportunity to keep these guys. So I think it's a good decision, and it's an interesting one. But if they're thinking about him to 46, I think they're tripping a little bit, man.
Well, here's the thing. You can always cut a guy at the end, and now that hurts your salary cap for those years moving forward. But I think the Buccaneers understand that this is now, and Cowherd talked about this the other day, and he's absolutely right. This is a win-now league. This is a league where long-term planning, like to go to the NBA, we were talking earlier with Danny Ainge. Danny Ainge has had a 20-year plan forever. He just keeps neglecting this year.
Smart guy.
And that's how the Celtics end up sub 500. Like, long-term planning in the NFL right now is overrated. What is underrated, or is now becoming properly rated, is trying to win right now. So let's say right now the Bucs have a clean cap sheet in regards to Brady after this upcoming season. Let's say they muddy it up. And let's say that all of a sudden now in 2022, he's owed a lot of money the way Big Ben is for this upcoming year. Maybe that screws you in 2022, and maybe Brady's not there in 2022. And you're like, that stinks. But if it allows you to keep 5 of those guys on the screen that we just showed instead of only 3 of them, if it installs you as the favorites to repeat in the NFC or to repeat overall, then it's worth it. So, like, I would rather be in a slightly disadvantageous cap situation in a couple of years if it allows me to hold on to Shaq Barrett this year when I'm the defending Super Bowl champion, Brandon.
Okay, can we put that screen back up with the notable free agents? You got Shaq Barrett, Antonio Brown, Levante David, Leonard Fournette, Chris Godwin, Rob Gronkowski, and you got Sue. So resident GM, how do you prioritize this? Who would you take? I know who I would take, but I want to hear your thoughts on who's your number 1, number 2 priority going in this offseason.
So my top 2 are the 2 defensive guys on the top level. Shaq Barrett, who's going to be expensive. You just franchise tagged him. So franchising him again would be $19 million. Probably got to sign him to a long-term deal. And Levante David. Those are my top 2 guys. The guy I am most easily letting leave is Chris Godwin. Because I think he's going to be very expensive, and you already have Mike Evans. Scotty Miller is basically free. There was I forget the kid's name, but the kid that made the incredible 3rd down catch against the Packers. Feel like he only had 9 catches all year. I think his last name was Jefferson. I might be having his name wrong. You have him. Gronk, I think, is going to play for almost nothing. But Gronk's going to play for almost nothing.
I agree with you there.
And running back to me, you have Ronald Jones, so Fournette is just... I don't need Godwin back. I don't have to have
Depends
Fournette
on the
back.
price.
I definitely need Barrett and David back. Barrett and David are my top 2 priorities without question, Brandon.
Yeah. Fournette, if you get him for the right price, you bring him back because, playoff time, he was stepping into his own. Two interesting guys right here. Why I think their priorities, and they will be cheap, is Gronk and Sue. Gronk and Sue, the reason why they're important is because Sue is that glue to that defense. Now, statistically, he's not as dominant as the other guys, but he's the one to keep them together. And then when you look at Gronkowski, you always need that guy that's going to break up the monotony throughout a long week and a long NFL season. So I like their chances of what you said of bringing back 5 guys instead of 3 with this extension with Brady if they can get it done.
But the minute you brought Tom Brady and you knew it was weird, win now for Tampa. That's going to do it for us. We are back here tomorrow morning. Hope you guys have a great day. Stick around. Undisputed starts right now, everyone.